Shawn Elizabeth Russell is a wildlife and imaginative realism artist specializing in creating detailed depictions of animals melded with plants and fungi in symbiotic relationships. She has worked with independent board game creators, food and beverage packaging, and private art collectors, and also sells her work across conventions across the U.S. Join us as Shawn talks us through her life, her body of work, and the struggles and joys of being a parent with a full-time independent illustration career. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Painted in Color podcast. I'm co-host Lauren Brown, joined by co-host Mia Araujo and Eric Wilkerson. And today we have a very special guest. Shawn Russell is here to talk to us about her work, her life, and what it's like to be an illustrator full-time and be a parent. So, hi, Shawn. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. Like I said, I just landed back in, not landed, drove back into town from Savannah, Georgia. So I apologize if I'm a little loopy this interview, but it should be fine. We'll make it. And his baby cat, Shawn, what's your cat's name?
This is Ami.
Ami's a very good
She's like a
girl.
year old and she's very energetic right now.
Oh, I didn't realize that she was a baby. So cute.
Yeah, we got her last year. She was born in our neighbor's garage to a
Wait,
stray mama
seriously?
cat. Yeah, her and her sister. We
That's so
picked them up. They were so cute.
Oh my God. Yeah, when they're year olds, they keep you up at night. They
Hmm.
don't know how to chill. I remember when I first got my
Hmm.
cats, they were like running around and I couldn't kick them out of my room because my door had like the pull down handle. And so they would just figure out how to open my door and get in and start crawling all over me. And that didn't cease until they were about 2 years old, and then they calmed down a bit.
Hmm.
So a bit rough. But anyway, hi Shawn. So like to just like get a start and get into it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got your start in your career.
Well, I guess I got my start from watching other artists like you guys on the internet and then being like, I want to do that after I had my first baby. Um, and that was the point where it was like, okay, time's precious, and I have to do the thing if I want to do the thing. So I started doing the thing, started making the art and caring, and I went to conventions first to visit, and then made friends and started getting into it myself. Um,
That's awesome. What was your first convention?
yeah. Hmm. I used to go to conventions all the time, like the ones in Chicago, the anime cons, Gen Con for sure. But I think my first one that I tabled at was Ohio Con, and some other
Oh,
artist friends recommended it to me. I was actually 6 months pregnant with my second at the time, so I was big at the booth, which maybe helped sales. I don't know. Some sympathy purchases.
oh my God. Like I didn't realize that your first con was when you were pregnant. What was that like having to travel holding a baby in your body and and all of your merch in your car? Because
Honestly, it wasn't
yeah.
it wasn't bad. I had my best friend with me and she helped a lot. I had a really small setup at the time though. It's nothing compared to what I have now where I fill up the entire car now. Um, but at that point it was like let's see, Esther was like 2 at the time, my first, and it was kind of like a vacation, to be honest, because I got to see all my artist friends and I got to meet new artists and I got to talk to other adults about art and it was really fun. So none of the like overtired or exhaustion from the pregnancy seemed to hit me.
You're
It was
just
just off
How
that
long
time.
ago?
It was
When was your firstborn? How long ago
She
was
was
that?
born in 2016. So my first con was 2018. And I did like a handful of them, I think, before COVID shut down, because at the beginning I didn't have as much help, like for when I was traveling. Um, but I don't know, after COVID, it's been really good. I've been doing a lot more shows, which has been really helpful in supporting our family. and
So you were
everything.
making art before you had kids, or this is something you started after?
I've been making art kind of forever, but it was very slow and like, yeah, I want to be an illustrator, but like not enough to put the time and effort in to kind of refine the skill set. Um, I was like a good artist in like like non-artist terms, um, before I kind of buckled down, I guess.
I think that's a true testament to how passionate you were about doing this professionally, that you would really engage yourself after you cut out like hours of time of available time you used to have. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. It was so I had gone to art school, but it was, one of the ones that was like did not value fundamental skills. It was very like,
Um,
well, okay, my thesis class, another girl got a print of her face on a birthday cake for the thesis show. She ate it on the floor and puked it up. And I can't remember if
what?
she ate it again or not, but that was
What?
her
Oh
like final
God.
piece.
Oh
So
my
that's kind of
God.
like the environment I was in. That made me stop drawing for like 5 years. And then after I had my kid, I was like, wait, where did that goal go? Oh, college sucked it out, but I'm not there anymore. So I can do it. And my first piece after she was born was like maybe 6 months into motherhood, and it was like my postpartum depression piece. It was actually my first Kickstarter, but it was a very embarrassing Kickstarter video because I talked about the depression thing. Um, but I mean, it went well, so it was good.
Wait, so like tell us more about your first Kickstarter. What was it? Like what were you kickstarting?
It was my first print run. It was based on a piece called Release, and it was of these three moray eels. It should
Mm-hmm.
be on my website. But it was like a powdered graphite piece with these three monolithic eels coming out of a tiny version of me, like from it was like my hair coming out and turning into these eels. And it was kind of like the anxiety, the isolation, the depression, the loneliness, loss of identity, kind of all being just expressed in the form of these eels. But
Oh yeah, I love this
oh
one.
yeah, that's the one. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that piece kind of started it all. It was the first piece I submitted to Infected by Art. It was like first thing I'd ever submitted to anything, and it ended up getting in and getting the like the bronze or like the third place in monochromatic or black and white or whatever it
Oh
is. And
wow.
that was kind of the
Right.
moment where it was like, I could do this professionally. I can do this. I can be a real artist. And yeah, I don't know, that kind of set it off to where like I'm gonna keep doing this and keep trying. And I got I made friends, and I think this is the piece that I showed um Von Art when I was fangirling at his booth for the first time. And then he's the one who was like, you should start doing conventions. I'll
Yes.
tell you some things. And that kind of, this piece kind of just set it all off. Um,
Amazing.
so
Yeah, I'm not
I owe a lot
surprised
to
that this
that
is, I
one.
mean, this is amazing and it's also full of emotion. Because I think that the coolest thing about being an artist and being able to express ourselves in this way is the fact that we can get our issues out on paper and also express it to other people and express that visceral emotion, and it comes across so effectively in this piece. It's really touching
Mhm.
and really beautiful, Sean. Like I'm not surprised that he was like, "Oh my
Mm.
God, like you need to be here with us because this is amazing."
Mm.
And like the fact
Thank
that you had
you.
the skill and didn't like fully pursue it until this piece. I mean, this is just amazing. So, yeah.
Oh, thank
So
you.
congratulations on getting acknowledged for it too because you deserved it.
Thank you. Thank
Wow.
you. Yeah, it was a mind blowing moment. Then again, like every like artist thing that happens still feels really mind blowing, you know. But
And
So well
so,
deserved on the
oh,
award, by the way. Congrats. It's amazing.
yes,
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
that's so cool. And so you saw Tim at a convention, and then your first convention was OhioCon.
Hmm.
And so, can you tell us more about? I know you only had a little bit of merch when you first did that show, and you were also pregnant. Can you tell us how it went and what the general first convention experience was for you?
Well, it was really good actually. It was there are a lot of people who say like, their first convention they didn't make profit or they had a hard time. Um, but I think I did like 2K in sales on the first show, which was like mind blowing.
It's really good.
I don't really know how it happened. Maybe it was because I was just so excited to be there. Um, but I think I just had prints and I had some like little mini frames with like gold embellishments on them, and that was it. I didn't have anything else. But OhioCon is a really rewarding show because it's like original art only, even though it's like an anime con, which you wouldn't think my work fit into it because I didn't have any anime at the time. I think I had like one illegal fan art piece of Kamaji the Boiler Man from Spirited Away. Um, but yeah, mostly animals. I don't know. I think having a different style helped out a lot. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, I had found that if you go to a convention and your work still resonates, but it stands out stylistically, because at an anime con you expect like a bunch of like colorful anime, not fan art, but because obviously Ohio Con doesn't allow it, but
Hmm.
character-based art, and then you see this like, beautiful realistic animal art. Like anime fans love animals and they love nature, and so I
Hmm.
can imagine how much it must have resonated with the audience then. And I mean, it's a testament to the quality of your art, but also the subject matter, because you have an appeal that goes beyond just a niche. And I'm not surprised that that was successful for you. That's really cool. And also, OhioCon is a
Thank
convention that really
you.
does respect the original art and appreciates it, which I hadn't really
Hmm.
seen in another convention. So, or another anime convention, mind you. Um,
Hmm.
so that's really cool. And so then you had that first successful convention, and what happened from there?
Hmm. I think I did maybe a few conventions a year for a while until post COVID. And for a while, actually, my subsequent cons weren't as profitable as the first one,
Hmm.
um, which felt more realistic at the time. Like, yeah, this feels more normal. It was disappointing, but um, I think they started getting better maybe in the next year, and then everything got shut down. Um, but cons after that were really good, like in that first year. I think everybody kind of felt that. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I kept working on art slowly but surely. I think I maybe completed a piece like once a month or once every 2 months. Because my kids were, I'm the primary parent, so I'm like at home with them 24/7. And when I get work, it's either when my mother-in-law is watching them or if I have energy after they go to sleep. Um, which lately it's not as much because they're up later. But I don't know. I've been working more and you get kind of faster, and that helped a lot. But I started this Chinese zodiac series, which has really resonated and been really encouraging. Um, and that is kind of like what started the Kickstarter that I'm running right now, which man, so grateful for since it's funded already. Oh
Yeah,
my
I heard that
gosh.
you got funded. And
Awesome.
I
how
did.
yes, and how quickly did it take you to get funded?
It took only 6 days. I know a lot of other artists get it out faster, but
Oh
I
no,
mean,
no, no, no,
I
no.
don't
We're not
I don't
even
have a
going to
huge
do that.
following.
We're not going to do that. You got funded, and that's very important because it's only up from
Yeah.
here. So you better
Yes,
celebrate
yes,
that.
yes, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I got takeout to celebrate. I got stuff from my
Oh,
favorite Chinese restaurant, and then I gave them a print of my Year of the Rabbit piece.
Oh, that's
oh,
awesome.
oh,
'Cause they're a
really? Oh,
local
that's
business
awesome.
too. Yeah. Yeah. There's also this Asian market that I'm friends with the owner, and I gave him a print too because they're just so sweet. This
Aw.
sweet old like
Oh,
80-year-old guy, and I love him.
I love that. What inspired you to start your Zodiac series? So I think your first piece was the
Mm,
ox, right?
yeah, the first one was the ox. It was a like a last minute kind of piece for Everyday Original. I had my slot then. Sorry, that was my cat knocking something over.
Yep, that's what
Um,
they do.
yeah. Um, so I kind of put that out on Everyday Original, and a friend bought it, and then he's like, I want you to do the rest, but take your time and make them really, really awesome. And I've been very slow about it, but um, I'm half Chinese, so it was kind of like kind of a personal reconnection to my cultural heritage in doing that. Um, and I don't know, it's been really cool seeing the response to it. Because I live in like a completely white neighborhood other than that Chinese restaurant and the Asian market owner. And before that, it was even whiter because I was in Lombard, Illinois. Um, I think I saw like another like a brown person like once a week. It was very, very white, and I didn't feel super connected with anything outside of like just momhood and all that. So the Zodiac series really kind of brought back like a lot of childhood memories of like going to Chinatown as a kid in Chicago and all that stuff.
Yeah, we were just having a conversation about this earlier today, me and a few friends, but it is surprisingly isolating when you are in a very homogenous place and unable to really connect with parts of your culture that you know you have, but you can't really express it. So
Hmm.
it can be a really healing thing to reconnect with it in various different ways. And I'm sure also going to conventions too, and like just seeing all different kinds of people from different walks of life,
Hmm.
like it sounds like a respite. At least what I'm
Yeah,
getting
it,
to be able
it
to
was.
have
Yeah,
that.
it's super nice to be able to jump back into that part of myself because yeah, when you're in like a an environment where like none of that is present, it's just like a part of yourself is suppressed,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily like oppressive in that way, but it's definitely like part of me is tamped down, and it's like it's not there for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the subtle kind of like like not pressure, but this invisible kind of force that's there with you always until and you don't notice it's there until it changes. Until your surroundings
Hmm.
change and you realize you're like, "Oh, like why do I feel good all of a sudden?" Like, "Oh, all right. I'm not like alone anymore."
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. But
Yeah, it's like when you walk in the room with other people like you and you're just like, I'm with people.
it's like I can be myself again. It's so nice. Yeah, like so
Yes.
and you're running a Kickstarter, which I know is a ton of work, and you're home with children, and I'm sure Eric can also speak to this part too, because as a dad who's a full-time illustrator, you also have to deal a lot with this. Like, what is it like to maneuver around the scheduling and the demands of parenthood plus your own work and your career? Because I personally can't imagine, and I'm already not making enough work, and I'm not even a parent. Like, how do you even? I don't understand. Please.
Ugh, honestly, I don't even know. Sorry. Did I interrupt you,
No,
Eric?
no,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
I want to hear somebody else.
Okay.
Maybe shed some light.
Uh, I don't even know. It's like any moment that I have the energy and the time, it's like, okay, I got to do this. Um, I don't know, like, because the time is precious. Like before I had kids, it was like Yeah, I'll concentrate on being an illustrator later after I watch this show or after I play this game or whatever. And now it's just like, okay, I have to turn on right now. Um, there's a lot of pivoting and a lot of working when you're really tired. Like mostly when I have deadlines, I'm like, okay, I have to do this or else. Um, and thankfully, I have in-laws to help with watching the kids. My parents are still in Illinois, so they're like 4 hours away. But yeah, I think childcare is like an invaluable asset. Um, and now that Esther's in first grade, so she's at school, and Ellie's in preschool 3 days a week for a couple hours. So that's super, super helpful. It's almost like I'm a new person on those days where she's there for lunch bunch. Um, yeah, it's kind of just like jumping from thing to thing, like multitasking constantly and like dividing your brain into like, okay, I'm interruptible. My kids are home to like 100% focus, put on that audiobook and work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel kind of the same, Eric? Or you have a different experience?
Oh no, it's very similar. Um, I was starting. No, I had been working professionally as an illustrator for years before having kids, but um, the idea of it had me like having frequent panic attacks, like while my wife
Mm,
was pregnant, because I was like, oh my God, because the reality of, oh, I'm not going to be able to just go to the movies or do this or do that whenever I want to. I'm going to have to, like, there's a life, right? Um,
mhm.
but when it comes to illustration, when it comes to actually sitting down and painting anything, um, I've told friends this, for other parent artists that I know, my brain overestimates the amount of time I actually have to do anything. So when I get an email saying, "Hey, are you available to do this job?" I'm like, "Hell yeah. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, I can't wait to start this project." And then
Yeah.
I go, oh, I'm not going to be able to start this until 9 o'clock at night. Oh, that means I'm going to be up late every night for the next month. Oh, like, there that reality kicks in. Like, oh man, I'm gonna have to paint really, really fast, or like pretend to
Mhm.
be sick or something like that in order to get something done. It's a lot, but what it has taught me is even greater time management, because before my daughter was born, I used to like binge watch anything. Like, sure, I'll watch the next season, of course. Like, I could start, my that painting I have to work on. I could start that like 3 in the afternoon. That's fine. That's cool. But now, no. Like, I
Mhm.
friends
Mhm.
talk to me. They're like, "Have you seen Mandalorian?" They're like, "Don't say nothing. I'll watch it
No
one day.
spoilers.
I will watch it
Someday in the distant future.
someday. It's not going anywhere. I know where it is. Just don't say nothing. Just avoid your phone. Avoid the internet." But um, yeah, I think the most important thing for me has been learning time management and how to paint faster, like what shortcuts I can take. Like, I was just telling Mia, like, here's what I would do, in like paint, when it comes to like multitasking a painting. Um, because I know if I try to just dive right into something, one of my kids is not going to sleep, or they're going to be
Yeah.
sick the next day, or there's going to be something that happens. And it always happens when I'm on a deadline. Somebody's tummy hurts, or they get sick, and then they're with me all day the next day instead of going to school. And then you have to factor that into your deadlines. Like, oh my God. Okay, so I not only have to hit this deadline, but I should probably try to hit it 3 days before it's due, just as a buffer for any kind of insanity that might happen. But somebody's probably watching this right now, like with a bowl of fruity pebbles, and like, that sucks. I'm never having kids.
Relate to the interruptions, but I can't imagine the level of interruptions of having children because they depend on you fully, you know? So it's like,
Yes.
I feel like you feel like your life is busy before you have kids until you realize there's another level of busy that you don't even, recognize. So I have a lot of empathy for you guys.
Yeah,
Like
likewise.
when and I'm sure you've had this happen, Shawn, where you were in the middle of painting something, designing, sketching, whatever, making art. You got the baby monitor sitting right next to you, right? And your daughter starts to move, and you're like, no, give me 45
Stay
more
still.
minutes. Stay still.
Yeah.
Go
No,
anywhere.
just like, I'm going to sing to you through the monitor. Like, please, right? Because you're in mid brush stroke going, oh. Or now you just hear that thump, and the thump, 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 and you know they're coming. You're like, let me just get this. Okay, hey, how's it going? You got to be on. It's like acting. You got to be on because they're coming. They don't
Yeah,
care about
definitely had that.
they don't care about your deadlines, your stress, your struggles. It's, I want Paw Patrol soup, and I want it now.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
at the beginning, that was just constant because my babies were boob babies. They would not accept pacifiers. They would not sleep without me. So I was laying down with them until they went to sleep, and they were nursing most of the time. Um, every night for like 6 hours, and then I would get like a few hours to do something if I had enough energy. For like the first 6 to 8 months of their lives.
Wow.
Man, brings flashbacks.
That sounds like exhaustion on a
Now
different
it's,
level.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't vividly remember any of those details. I just remember laying down alone with my baby at night, staring at the wall, waiting for them to fall asleep and then sneak away. Thankfully, the second time I discovered AirPods and I could listen to music or audiobooks while I was laying there. The first one, I just laid there in silence.
Wow.
Oh.
Must be like a master meditator by now.
Yeah, right?
I mean, I got to think about a lot of things, and I think I did a lot of like in my head visualization about like, oh, I want to do this for my next piece or whatever.
Well,
Yeah.
not
It was
to
intense.
not to but I mean, this is an unpaid endorsement, but my Galaxy phone, my S22 has a built-in pen, and
Wait,
Sketchbook
what?
Pro like built in an app. So while I'm sitting there holding my son or my daughter, like giving them their bottle, or they're sleep on my shoulder, I'm busting out sketches. I'm still doing my thing. If I got a deadline, I can't wait to get you off of me to get that done. Now, I tell my wife, if Apple phones had this built in, I'd be an Apple phone user. But, I know they're called iPhones. I call them Apple phones just to mess with people.
I feel so messed with, man.
Just make them so mad. So angry. It's like, how dare you call it an Apple phone? My iTelephone. I think I could.
Yeah.
I think a comedian had said that. It's like you can use that. It's iTelephone. But I actually didn't realize that had a built-in feature that you could draw on it like a tablet. That's cool.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That does sound
I need
pretty
to
cool.
I need to get a
Yeah.
Galaxy. I have a Pixel. I'm an Android user too. I need to get a Galaxy again, apparently.
There you
That's
go.
cool.
There you go. But it's rewarding, but you have to, I don't know how it is for you, Shawn, but being present has been the hardest part of being that parent illustrator.
hmm
What's it been like for you?
Definitely being present is the hardest, especially as they've gotten older. Because I like to be the parent that will answer every question to the best of my ability, which I think is also foolishness because the questions never end. And then you're just talking for a half an hour about how cell phones work when I don't know what I'm talking about. Um, it's just like, I don't know. I mean, they use these waves and they communicate with these towers, and those towers communicate with other towers, but I don't know the science behind it because I'm not a scientist. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Most of the time, I can't work at all when I'm with my kids,
Hmm.
um, especially since so one is four, well, turning four next week, and then the other is six, almost seven. So they each have like, they kind of like cycle in, like, I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to ask harder questions. I'm going to ask really weird questions. They kind of go back and forth. Like once I satisfy one, the other comes and takes up that space.
Oh God.
Um, so like sometimes when I really have to, I'll draw with them. But that's usually only if I'm doing like ideation on the iPad, because when I've got a drawing that I'm hoping to sell someday for like $1,000 or something, it's very anxiety inducing when I'm drawing on the couch and they're jumping and bumping my arm. And it's like, that's too risky.
Yeah.
Um,
Gosh.
yeah.
And I can also
So
only
most of the time
imagine.
I just, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, no, please continue.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess most of the time I just do like the housework and chores with them, or like admin where I'm like just typing or doing something necessary, but you know, not as risky
Yeah, that
I
makes
find.
sense. And yeah, like the thing about it too is the fact that there's so many distractions when you're trying to do creative work and get into a flow state, which is
Hmm.
notoriously difficult to get back on once it's broken. And so
Hmm.
have you had to learn how to get better at reestablishing your flow state once you've been like tossed out of it, or do you just like have to do how do you get back into your flow after it's been broken? Is what I'm trying to ask.
I don't know if I can explain. I think sometimes it just doesn't work and I have to try again later. I have to do something else to kind of relax again, or just wait till they go to bed. Um, but sometimes I kind of just have to just keep, like, I'll just keep working on it and then it'll eventually happen. I just kind of hope that it works out. Um, like when I did Anime Expo last year, I started a Spirited Away piece. And it was like my biggest surface area of graphite that I've ever done. And it had human figures in it. So it was like really out of my comfort zone, which I'm happy with now. But at the time, it was very stressful. But I had to finish it in 1 week before I got on the plane. And I
Oh
had to like
wow.
make prints and stuff before I did that. And I was with my kids almost the entire time because my husband was working during the day. He's a tattoo artist. But yeah, that was kind of the most intense because we were watching Spirited Away and then I have to switch the shows every few hours, which felt every 5 minutes when I was working on it. Um, my kids were very patient, but it was a grumpy time for all of us, for sure.
Holy ma How long does this piece take you?
I did it in a week, but during that time, I think I got 2 hours of sleep each night, and I was working on
Shawn.
it on the couch with my kids. But I wanted to
Oh,
have it at Anime Expo because it's like the biggest anime con in the US. And it
yeah.
was my first time there, and I wanted to take advantage of being there and
Oh,
bring money
wow.
back for the family.
Did it
Oh,
work out?
What's that?
Did it work out for you? Did this was the
Oh
piece?
yeah, it it worked out. It was one of the best sellers. I think the best seller at most of my shows are either the Year of the Snake piece and the fox with the mushrooms growing out of it. But yeah, I mean, it was worth it. It was my best con of all time so
That's
far.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really glad to hear it worked out because it's scary to invest so much time and energy into a piece without knowing how it's going
Mhm.
to pan out because like I feel like we've all been there where we're like, okay, we're gonna work on this piece for this convention and we hope it works out and sometimes it just like does not get the reception that you hope. So I'm really
Mhm.
happy to hear that it worked out for you and all that effort was worth it because 2 hours of sleep, I don't know how you can still do that because I can't. Like that part of me has disappeared. That is gone.
I'm pretty sure it's gone from me right now, but who knows? There might be times when it comes back and I just have to survive through it. I don't know. Yeah.
It's like the adrenaline carries you.
hmm I think
Oh,
like the impending feeling of doom just like brings you through it. Like if I don't finish this, everything will fall apart, kind of thing.
oh
The
man.
fear.
Oh, that's so much work. That's so much effort. It's a really beautiful piece though. So it paid off
Thank you.
100%. How large was the original canvas?
It was 9 by 12. I guess what that big, I don't know. So
Nice.
not like huge, but like with I use point 0.3 and point 0.2 mechanical pencils. So um it takes a while to make anything larger than that size. So I
Yeah.
don't really attempt it.
I'm like, so you're a mad woman in short. That's cool. We love that.
A little bit. A little bit. Yeah, I don't smudge either.
Oh my God.
I've just started experimenting with using a paintbrush to smooth things out, but I've never like I with the eel piece, I used Q-tips with like the powdered graphite and stuff, but I'm very meticulous about like gradations and soft edges, so
Oh,
foolishness
yeah,
again.
that's a
You can get
wild
smudge
technique.
sticks. You can get smudge sticks from like Dick Blick or like on some any
I
online.
don't like using
You
them.
don't like them? Oh,
They make
No.
they make kind of like a blurry quality to the smudge,
Mm-hmm.
whereas I feel like your transitions are much more controlled because you get to dictate exactly what the texture is supposed to be like. Whereas like I have gotten this with smudge sticks too, where I'm just like, oh, like it kind of feels a little too undefined and a little too rough. And sometimes they leave like little
Mm-hmm.
like skids in the middle of the graphite, which isn't really fun. So I understand why you don't like to use
Mm-hmm.
them, but like I could see something softer like a paintbrush being more
Mm-hmm.
effective. What else? Like, have you smudged with anything else aside from paintbrushes or Q-tips?
Also cotton swabs. I like using cotton swabs, I think more, but it's more of like when I'm using powdered graphite, it kind of covers a large area and you don't need
Mhm.
much accuracy. Kind of just to grind the graphite into the paper gently.
That's wild. Yeah, it turns out really, really gorgeously. I'm just like looking through
Oh, thank you.
the portfolio, but for the Zodiac pieces, I know that your Kickstarter also includes enamel pins, and that's a completely different process than doing graphite art. So what was like the
hmm
process from transferring your very beautiful, realistic, detailed art into a much more simplified enamel pin? Was that difficult?
Um, Not hugely. Most of my illustrations start out as like, a rough sketch. I put it into Procreate and I kind of refine it, and then I create like a really rough line art to transfer onto like the nice paper that I'm going to do the final illustration on. So for the enamel pins, I kind of just went back into Procreate and refined those sketches, though the amount of detail that you can get in a pin is like a lot more limited. So there
Yes.
was a big learning curve kind of going into that process of like, oh, I cannot expect all of these like little chrysanthemum swirly petals to show up on something that's this big. Um, so that was kind of a learning curve, but um, the pin company that I work with is has been really good at like keeping like the most important details, um, while minimizing the amount of like holes poked in the metal.
That's awesome. Yeah, and they turned out really well because I have a year of the rabbit pin, because that's my year, that I personally just love so much, and I get compliments on it all the time when I wear it. So yeah, it's the details come across really well, even though it has to be simplified. Like it's very easy to read and a really pleasant design. Um, but because I haven't run a Kickstarter before, and I know that the behind the scenes, it for me, it sounds very intimidating because there's like a lot of different moving parts. You have to calculate shipping and all like the products and how much you're going to get. How has it been for, I know this is not your first Kickstarter, but I think this is definitely bigger than your last one. So how has it been running them? Like, what is
Definitely.
it like to do a Kickstarter?
It's very stressful.
It seems like
You
it.
have to make a lot of like the same images that are slightly tweaked or with different text. A lot of graphic design um, coming into like promoting it. I think and just like be talking about it and figuring out how to talk about it all the time without being redundant and annoying. I mean, I kept feeling like I was being annoying, like just blasting out Kickstarters, however much percent funded, you can get this thing, you can get that. Just being like a relentless salesperson is very stressful for me. Um, and I don't know, like I have a printer, a screen printer that I was talking to during the beginning of the campaign, and I got samples right before I drove off to C2E2, where I launched it at the same time as C2E2 starting. For anyone wanting to launch a Kickstarter, do not do that. It's kind of too much work to start a like unless you have everything lined up, like all the imagery, all the social media stuff lined up before the con, don't do it. Um, I was up late after convention hours working on the Kickstarter stuff, and
Oh
it was,
God.
I mean, it paid off. People pledged at the booth, which was great, and I did it because I have a smaller audience online, just to kind of boost success. But it was very exhausting. So either be more prepared than I was and have everything done before you launch, um, which isn't always possible. I kind of like you were talking about, Eric, like overestimating the amount that you can get done in a certain amount of time. I had started telling people, oh, it'll be in a month's time or whatever. And I seriously overestimated the amount of work I could do for preparation of that. Um, but I mean, it worked out. It was fine. Uh, People were really receptive to it, but I had issues with my samples. I couldn't even show my sweater. Um,
Oh really?
they they altered the design. I like for my sleeve design, they squashed it horizontally,
Oh no.
and the ink didn't lay properly, and the the ink was like at almost like a 50% opacity on like the snake design on the front. So, and they didn't even give me the rabbit t-shirt. They gave me a snake instead of a t-shirt.
Oh, are you
So,
serious?
yeah, I
Oh,
showed that, and I'm trying to talk with them about either getting it redone or refunded, and looking into other manufacturers now.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you were, because that's kind of unforgivable. Like, why would they alter the design like that you've given them? That doesn't make any sense.
mhm,
And it doesn't sound like they're
yeah,
paying attention to detail. So you don't want to have to worry about that during fulfillment, which I've heard is like really also super stressful part of Kickstarters.
yeah, it
Oh,
was
I'm sorry
disappointing
that
because
part didn't
it
work
was a
out.
local business, but that's okay. I mean, I think if they're able to fix it and they're able to guarantee that that issue's not going to happen again, maybe. But they also kind of just seemed like they didn't care. So um,
Mm,
I've been asking around for other screen printers that people like, and I've been talking with a few. So I'm going to get samples from, I think, several others um, before the end of the campaign, just so I'm prepared and I know exactly what I want, and then we can get everything going, so that expectations of like when people are going to get their stuff isn't like totally out the window, and I'm not letting people down.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be key in like minimizing your level of stress as much as possible. And also just delivering a high quality product because you want everybody to be, really pleased with what they get and also that your art is represented to the best of its abilities on the merch. So that's, yeah,
Hmm.
finding a good manufacturer is huge. That's huge. Just in any
Hmm.
like conventions or Kickstarters, like in just any aspect or regard whatsoever. But recommendations are a good way to do it. So fingers crossed that it works out. Well, while we're
Yeah.
on the topic, I'm also going to share my screen so that you can actually see the Kickstarter page. Look at this. Funded in 6 days. Yes, it was. So take us through it, Shawn. I love this transition, by the way. This is so cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, there was a lot of new like technology learning. Learning how to make GIFs in Photoshop was really cool. Yeah, for that I kind of just wanted to connect the process of like everything that I do being traditional into how it's like translating into a screen print design and stuff. Um, yeah, I don't know. It kind of just tells my story of being Chinese and liking to make art. And, at a lot of conventions, people were like, I'd love to see this on apparel. Do you make t-shirts? Do you make anything? And I always had to say, no, I don't have it. And finally, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a Kickstarter so that it's kind of safer than just spending a ton of money on products that I'm not totally sure if people will want to buy. I mean, a few people had mentioned it, but it's not like this is guaranteed. Um, so Kickstarter was kind of like the safety net that I really needed to go through with this. But yeah, I'm doing Year of the Rabbit t-shirts and Year of the Snake sweaters with some exclusive prints that you can only get through the Kickstarter. Um, and then for my stretch goals, I'm reordering the rabbit. I've made these pins so far, but right now the rabbit's sold out and then the snake is almost gone. And I want to start on the next ones, which are the rat and the dragon. The dragon's going to be the
Nice.
next illustration I make because I actually have I have a pre-order on like the prints, a few of those already. So I got to get on that too. Um,
Just beautiful.
Yeah, I
Oh,
really
cool.
love the graphic design too is just so consistent. Like it just feels like it's branded. And I just think that that's something that you don't think about when you're making the art, but when you have to put together a campaign,
mhm.
that's just what makes it look so solid and professional as well, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah, I think
it's
that's the most time-consuming part of Kickstarter planning is like the graphic design aspects. Like you make a bunch of images and then you realize, oh, this doesn't look right. So you have to edit all of them so it matches.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but it's really, yeah, it's presented in a really gorgeous way and it's readable. So I have already pledged my pledge. I'm excited to get my rewards whenever they come out.
I know you had said that um, for the first Kickstarter, it was a little, I guess, uncomfortable because you were sharing. You felt like you were sharing too much, or is it necessary to make a video like that for? Because I saw you didn't do it this
Hmm.
time.
Yeah, I thought it was necessary as for the first one. I think it probably helped. Like I got a lot of like encouraging response, like people resonating with um the postpartum depression thing. It was mostly just vulnerable, and hearing yourself on a recording talking about personal issues is just like it's hard. um I didn't make a video this time because I just ran out of time, um mostly. And when I did the first Kickstarter, it was when my kids were both out of the house for a whole week. When my mother-in-law, we were in Illinois at the time, but my mother-in-law came to visit for a week and she's like, I'll take them for a whole week. So I was like, okay, well, I better do something awesome with this time. So I put together the Kickstarter for my first print run to kind of fund going to cons and things like that. Um, I think videos help a lot. It helps for the people who don't really like to read through like a whole page of text, but I don't think it's necessary. Um, I don't know, maybe mine would be doing like a lot better if I had a video. I just didn't get to completing one in time.
Oh,
I
I
think
mean,
you can still add
I'm
stuff
just
later, but
I'm
Mhm.
just asking as a complete Kickstarter noob. I've never done one. I've supported them, but I've watched people be wildly successful just going typing something going, here it is.
This
And
is
then
what it
other
is.
people have to make a whole grand, you know, After Effects, special effects, logos flashing by kind of presentation. And I'm like, I don't know which one of these to do. And it makes me, it's so overwhelming that I just go, uh, I
Like,
don't
I'll
know if
just
I want to
not.
do a Kickstarter.
I totally understand that. Yeah, I think I don't know, whatever you're comfortable with doing is, I mean, whatever you're comfortable with is more you, and people connect with you
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
work. So, you know, bending over backwards to make something that's not natural for you, I wouldn't say is something that's necessary if you wanted to do a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, that's great advice. Because if you spend time doing a video that's not even good, I don't think that would enhance your Kickstarter. You know,
No.
or you like
Hmm.
don't have enough time to polish it or whatever, or like you're saying, you feel awkward talking into the camera or something. Then that's not leaning on your strengths. You know, so
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Hmm.
And your first one was definitely, it was full of emotion and heartfelt. So you went through that experience to really drive that point home and to let people understand where you're coming from. And that helps people connect with the
Hmm.
product even more because they know it comes from, a place of like genuine experience and authenticity. And this also does as well, but it's more um it caters to like a more general audience and is just like a fun, wonderful thing to have. So I think that the video probably lent itself a lot more to that first Kickstarter. So like yeah, it wouldn't necessarily be a need to have, but a nice to have, perhaps.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
but
it's like a
personally,
bonus.
yeah, exactly. It's a bonus. Personally, I'm the gremlin who goes through Kickstarters and like looks at all the pictures first and then kind of reads it and maybe watches the video, but not always.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I don't feel like watching this. I'm just gonna see what this is about. And usually I already know like if I want to kickstart it or not, like just by the content
Hmm.
that they're offering.
Yeah. Honestly, most of the time I skip videos like on Instagram or whatever. Like I have them all muted. I'm like, no,
Yep.
I don't want to listen to anyone talk. I've been listening to my kids talk to me all day. Let's peace and quiet.
Yeah. And I imagine you don't have the time to just like stop and like look at a video for a while. Like if anything is longer than a minute, I'm like, no. I do not want like some
Which
Kickstarter
is
videos
so
be like 5.5
ironic since
minutes. I'm
we
like, I don't
just,
have
yeah,
time.
which is so ironic since we spend like so much time watching our hand make these little marks on these pages and canvases.
Well, you determine what fits in your schedule, even with precious little time you have. It's like I want to spend time
Hmm.
doing this, but I don't want to spend my time watching videos that I don't know what the outcome is going to be.
Hmm.
It's just true. And time is precious, especially with you as a parent.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can only
Definitely.
imagine. But so let's see on the Kickstarter, how much longer do we have to go? We have 20 days to go. You
Hmm.
have reached your goal so far. Um,
Yeah.
and the fulfillment will be coming around, I don't know if you have like the deadline. I don't want to even talk about deadlines because I know that can be stressful. But
I think I set it to July,
okay.
just in case there were hiccups, and because I know that I'm probably overestimating how quickly I can do things. Um,
Yeah.
like the first time I filled it out, it was like, okay, May is probably good because I'm going to do it through a local business. I don't have to worry about shipping. like to me as much. And then I went back and I changed it. I'm like, okay, I need a buffer month. And I need another buffer month just in
Yeah.
case. So
I'll put like 3 up there just in case. Just because you never know what
yeah.
happened. I feel like July is like feels soon. I was like, wow, I didn't expect it to be that quick.
Yeah, hopefully I don't have to renege on that. But yeah,
Even if you
it's
do, I
cool.
think it's happened with every project I've backed, and it's not been a problem with me at least. So I think it should be fine. But
Hmm.
hopefully you won't, and it will come in fine and beautiful, and everything will be great. But I'm really excited for you, Shawn. I can't wait to see all the wonderful rewards that comes with it, and everything else that that you create because I just love your art as another nature artist too. I love the subject matter of your art and your themes. So yeah, it's really beautiful what you share with the world, and thank you for finding the time to share it. 'Cause that's really hard.
I think social media is the hardest part of being an
Oh my
artist for sure.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are
So
you
how
finding
have you
that
gotten the
game?
word out? How did you get the word out about your Kickstarter? Was it multiple platforms through social
Um,
media or
I I think so. I don't have huge engagement on Twitter. Instagram is like where my highest following is, but I think Facebook is where, most of my personal connections are. Um, and since we're really involved with our church community and like our church community from when we were living in Lombard and in Evanston previously, a lot of those people have come in and backed the Kickstarter as well and shared things. I think C2E2 also, like doing it in person and being like, hey, you'll get a free mini print if you back at the table. You'll get a free print and a pin if you back and purchase. And just having, like, I had the t-shirts on display, kind of like in a shadow box, so you couldn't tell that it was a t-shirt, not a sweater. Um, um,
That's
I
smart.
don't know. I also had like newsletters, like emails collected from a lot of like a few years of doing lots of cons. Though I will be honest, I had like 50 unsubscribes um, after I sent
was
that
just gonna
Kickstarter
ask you
email
that.
out.
What?
But I also hadn't emailed most of them at all since they
Oh,
signed up.
so they're
I
like, what is this?
am
Ah.
very bad at the newsletter thing, and I don't think it was a very pretty email. I have to take some time to learn how to craft like a nice email that people will enjoy receiving versus like it's just somebody else selling me something kind of
Yeah.
experience.
All caps, exclamation point,
111.
Kickstarter.
Here's
Like,
a
what the
project you'll love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're like, what
I
is this?
actually used that line. Not not recommend.
But it sucks though because it's not enough to just be an illustrator and be amazing at our craft, but we also have to learn how to be our own marketers, advertisers, social media managers, and like the word of mouth, like just like basically a barker for your
Hmm.
own products. And it's a lot of different
Yeah.
skills. Like I cannot stress this enough. The amount of skills that we have to learn to be an illustrator, I think a lot of people underestimate what goes into it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
like
Yeah. It's not just drawing.
no, it really is not just drawing. And you have to post a lot too, because when you might feel like you're annoying on social media or email or whatever you're posting about your Kickstarter, but really the percentage of people who are seeing those like the same posts on various different platforms is negligible. Like no one's going to run into that thing twice. They're going to see it the once that you shared it for that audience and that's it. So like you really have to bombard them and that's so much work. That's so much work.
Hmm.
And
Yeah. It's
yeah,
only
like
other artists that you're friends with that see them multiple times. And when we see our friends' stuff, we're never like, oh, they're so annoying. We're like, yes, get it out there, retweet or
yeah, we
like
get
story
excited.
share or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
But
couple of artists I know personally who, when you're interacting with them online, you're not actually interacting with them, you're interacting with their spouse.
Hmm.
oh,
Or
And
like
I was
their
like, oh,
assistant.
really? Oh, okay. So I've been gushing my heart out to your wife. Gee, okay, that's cool.
The spousal social media managers.
Yeah, the social media
Nice.
managers, person who's running your print shop, all that stuff is your spouse. I'm like,
Oh,
man,
wow.
so that you have time to be able to stay in your flow state instead of, oh, let me answer this email real quick. Oh, let me respond to these social media people real quick, my fans. You know, hey honey, this person's giving you a lot of emojis. Send them an emoji back. Thanks. I need that. I need that.
Yeah.
So,
Oh man.
Yeah, me too. We all
Ugh.
need that.
Yes, we do, honestly. I dream sometimes about having a social media manager, but I'm like, I'm not there yet. Like, we don't need that, but but it would be really nice to have, to not ever have to deal with social media because I hate it personally. I'm so bad at it. And again, it's just work where you'd rather be focusing on your own illustrations and the things that you feel really passionate about and your beautiful work. So, yeah, here's to being able to have more time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
well, what the whole thing with promoting self-promotion, especially while juggling my kids, is it takes away the time where I need to be present because I'm not using one of those later apps where I've already written out the post and picked my hashtags, and I did that on a Sunday night and then it's going to post on a Thursday, right? I don't know how to use that. And whenever I've tried, it's always backfired, or it posts like half of a word.
Oh.
Right. I'm like, wait, no, that's not what I wanted to happen. I gotta get up and delete that whole thing 12 o'clock at night. Great. It happens when I'm trying to help out when, like it's dinner time. Like I know a certain time of day or night when there's the most engagement from the people that follow me. So I try to post something right about that time. So I'm scrambling to get the hashtags right and the wording and all this stuff, get the images all sized up while somebody's going, Daddy, play with me. Daddy, play with me. Daddy, what is this? Daddy, 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 daddy. And you can't be like, what? I'm trying to post on Instagram. You can't flip out on you know?
You can't.
So then there's the anxiety of, okay, well, I went through all that and then nobody saw it. Like, what am I doing this for? Like, then there's the anxiety and the constant refreshing. Well, maybe 20 people did see it. Maybe maybe we refresh this again. It's a terrible thing that happens to the brain. I don't know if that's normal for if everybody experiences that, or if that's just something.
Oh, it's normal. It's your brain looking for a dopamine hit, and it's an instant dopamine hit when you know that your post is being engaged with.
I hate that. I hate
Yeah.
that feeling.
It's addicting.
Yeah.
I think it's also just if you hate doing it and you're investing time in it, you want it to be worthwhile. So I don't think I think everyone experiences that, right? Where it's just like I put myself through this thing I didn't want to do, and you want it to pay off in some way. Otherwise, why do it?
Right. Because I remember listening to people talk about you gotta get the newsletter, get people to sign up for your newsletter from your website. Then you send out that newsletter and people are like, what the hell? Unsubscribe. The same thing happens with social media. You post something that you poured your heart into and people are like, what the hell? Like unfollow.
Unfollow.
How in the world your follower account go down when you share art? I could leave my Instagram alone for like 6 months and gain 100 people. The minute I post art, it's like, ugh.
We don't want this. It's like, why are you here? What's going on?
But did my fingers slip? Was like, how is this guy on my phone?
It's a weird world that we have to live in and create for ourselves, but we make it work somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that Eric, you got to go, and we have to make sure that you get to have rest too. So, is there anything else that you want to leave us with before we close it out?
Yeah, mostly just thanks so much for having me. It was so great to talk to all of you and to meet Eric in screen time, face to face, screen to screen. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess if you want a cool rabbit t-shirt or a snaky sweater, back the Kickstarter, um, or just follow along with artwork from a mom, especially if you're a parent. I don't know. Mostly just happy to be here and to talk with other artists about all this stuff. So thanks so much for hosting me.
Shawn, it was our pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the show today. And definitely follow her Kickstarter. Her work is awesome and high quality and beautiful. So you will not be disappointed to own one of her beautiful pieces. So pop over to there or see Shawn at their next convention, which would be, where are you going to be next?
I'm actually still figuring that out. Um, I'm slated to be ASEN, MomoCon, and then ACon, but there are three back-to-back cons, and I don't know that my family can handle it.
Yeah.
So I think I have to pare it down. So I'm still
Yeah.
figuring out, but it will be one of those three,
All right. Yeah, I had to
or
drop
maybe
Akon
two of
because
those
I
three. I
know I'm
don't
going
know.
to Momo and it's local for me. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to not do that convention the week after that. That's silly. So I
Hmm.
understand. I was in that same dilemma. So hopefully
Yeah,
I
I'm
see you at
thinking of
Momo though,
dropping
because I
that one too.
really, yeah.
Yeah, I really want to go to Momo. I hear really great things about it, and I get to see you.
It's
So,
true. But if not, then I will see you shortly, sometime this year. And I hope
hmm.
you have a good night, and we'll talk to you later. And everybody, thanks so much for
Okay,
joining us in
see.
the chats. And if you like this episode, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe. Your support means a lot to us. So we could use every little bit. And if you enjoyed this episode, and especially if you're a parent, I would love to hear about your experience. If you want to be an artist, if you're already an artist, if you do something else and you're a parent. Um, I again can't imagine what it's like to be a parent, and the more information, we can get, the better, because we just like seeing your experiences. So thank you so much for engaging with the show, and we'll see you next time. Bye,
Oh, and
everybody. Wait,
before,
what?
okay, so you don't have to cut this part out. So I wanted to just give a shout out to all the uncles, the in-laws, the
The
next
family
door
members.
neighbors, anybody and everybody that helps out, that parent illustrator, that parent artist that is struggling to hit a deadline, and they're like, sure, I'll watch your kids. Or yeah, they can come and have a play date, and you're like, thank you, Lord, I get like 5 hours just to be in that zone. Thank you to you, wherever you are. So if you're a parent artist out there doing your thing, thank them, make them some cookies or something, like grease those wheels so they can do that again. All right. Because you never know when that big, stressful, super project is going to come around and you're going to need that house to yourself.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
thank you all.
Amen.
That's awesome. Yeah. Shout out to all the parents and all the families who deal with it. It's wonderful, and you are appreciated. All right. See y'all later.
Oh my God.